Welcome to the CURES Show, where we explore cutting-edge wellness for our mind, body, and spirit. I'm Kara Sundlin. Have you been trying to lose weight but feel like nothing sticks? Could toxins be the missing link to weight loss? Dr. Artemis Morris says yes and more. She is a naturopathic doctor who runs the Artemis Wellness Center, and she's been taking a deep dive into all of this. So thank you so much for being with us so we can understand.
It's an honor and a pleasure, Kara, always.
You know, I think that we're going to take a deep dive, and there's a lot of science in here, but some of it is just simple, right? I mean, we have 70% of adults in the United States who are obese or overweight. Rates have tripled since the 1960s. It can't just be that we're all eating more.
It's not. And this is why the equation for many people is not working when your doctor's like, oh, just lose weight and you'll be healthier. It doesn't work for many people and can be frustrating and stressful, which adds more of a problem. But basically, it has to do with how our metabolism is working. And the toxins, I've taken this huge deep dive into it, and I knew about it from environmental medicine, but I am, really convinced that this is the missing link. And I've seen this in my patients that it's about removing and avoiding some of the toxins that we're exposed to in our food and environment and helping our metabolism to work better.
Right. So there's things that we're eating every day that we may think are actually good choices or quick choices, but they have something in them called obesogens that might actually program our body to store fat.
Yes, and I think the word is very accurate. So thank you to the researcher that brought that word to light. Obesogens are part of a class of toxins in our environment and food, and that are include something called forever chemicals, which means they don't break down in our environment. That are endocrine disruptors.
Hmm.
Now, our endocrine system is our hormones. This has to do with fertility. This has to do with our thyroid. This also has to do with how our pancreas, our insulin resistance is working, and how we can lose weight as
Mm.
well. So, this class of toxins called obesogens is being researched worldwide. The Yale Environmental Sciences Department's working on it, the World Health Organization, like all organizations are looking at these endocrine disruptors and realize that there is actually a mechanism by which these toxins in our food and environment, they sequester these toxins to protect us in our fat cells. So they can increase the number of fat cells called adipose tissue. They can stretch them out. They make it harder to metabolize certain things. So it can actually contribute to that insulin resistance and difficulty losing weight.
So give me some examples. What are some of the things we might be eating that actually might be making us fat?
So any pesticides, let's start there, which is something that, this is even goes beyond even glyphosates, which is the most commonly used toxin for as a pesticide. But plastics, any kind of plastics, plasticizers, our personal care products, flame retardants on our clothes. In terms of food, it's basically so much of our food contains these toxins in the form of additives and preservatives. We're exposed to it. We can be exposed to it in the air through volatile compounds, through fragrances. So it's really all over. And most people have been found to have a particular type of obesogenic endocrine disruptor called PFAS in their bloodstream, according to recent research. So it's something that's a missing link for most people, and it also can become carcinogenic under the right circumstances if we have it in
So,
us.
so what you're saying is when we're indulging in fast food or eating some of those packaged things that have a lot of preservatives, it's not just the calories on the box, but the ingredients that might actually be programming us to store weight.
Exactly. And yes, that is absolutely true. And that's the problem with reading labels. So, one thing that we do in the Mediterranean detox program that I've developed is we learn how to really read labels because many of us can get obsessed with the calories and, say, oh, I can only have this number of carbs, this number of proteins. Guess what? We have toxins in every type of food that's available in our grocery store. So it's not only about looking at the nutrition facts, our actual ingredients label is where the truth is. And that's where we really want to understand our agricultural practices, what we're slathering on our bodies, what we're spraying on us, like what kind of candles we're having, what kind of clothes we're wearing. So all of this plays a role, even getting our water tested, all of this is important.
Right, and it can sound super overwhelming, like, well, what am I gonna do? I live in a toxic world. But you say there are some simple things we can do that can really change the trajectory of our health and our waistline?
Absolutely. And I don't want to scare anyone because I have to say, Kara, I have been obsessed with it, like researching it for my new book that's coming out in the spring. It can get very overwhelming because the research is still developing, but there are some very big facts we know about. We are exposed to toxins daily. They're in our food, they're in our environment, and we need help metabolically detoxifying them. Otherwise, we have trouble losing weight. And so I have come with some simple solutions that I've put my heart and soul in and into the program. And it's going to be a lifelong subject for me. Definitely there's so many other ways that we can help ourselves in the environment. And these effects are transgenerational. So
Yeah.
your weight gain, your difficulty losing weight actually could be due to an exposure your grandmother or grandfather had. This is how insidious these toxins are, that they can actually affect our fertility. They can affect how we look phenotypically, like even in terms of hormones, how the hormones affect our body for generations. They can affect our risk of diabetes, autoimmune disorders. So it's a really important subject. And I'm super excited about it because some of these simple things to help our body get back on track, to minimize toxins in our food and environment, just to become aware of a few things, like using instead of a to-go mug with plastics in it and microplastics, get a great like glass or stainless steel cup or ceramic. One simple thing you can do.
Okay, so not drinking out of plastic is one simple thing we can do. But let's talk about people hear detox all over, and that can mean a lot of things. You've developed a program based on science to help us detoxify so that we can lose weight and even avoid some chronic illness. So what's the right way to detoxify?
This is such a misunderstood word. And detox is something that, yes, a lot of doctors are like, oh, you don't need a detox, you do that naturally. Yes, we do it naturally, but the problem is if you have insulin resistance, if you have high liver function tests, if you have, the non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which is called a metabolic disease now because it's so prevalent, if you have any compromise in your metabolism and the way your body's working, your detox pathways, your liver, is part of that physiological process. So, detoxification is something that we can enhance. We can actually give our body a little help, give it a little boost, giving it the right nutrients, avoiding some things that stress it. And whenever we're going through major hormonal changes, whether it's puberty or menopause or andropause, whenever we go through these hormonal changes, we actually stress our liver even more because it has to process the hormones on top of everything else, on top of those pharmaceutical drugs, on top of that low level plastic, on top of the toxins in our food. So detox can be a very simple, safe, and easy thing to do. And it's basically enhancing our metabolic processes. But there are a lot of ways to do it wrong. And if you do it wrong, you can actually become more toxic. You can actually gain more weight because our fat cells are sequestering. They're kind of saving us from those toxins by putting them in our fat cells so that they don't dump into our system. So we want to have all the nutrients we need for the phases of detox: phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. And there
Okay.
are certain nutraceuticals that really help with that.
Yeah, I want to make this really simple for people so they're not feeling overwhelmed. If you're still watching right now, you're like, okay, how do I detox? I know that there's all this dangerous stuff out there. So, how can we simply detox safely and effectively?
One simple thing that you can do, so you want to start with awareness and become aware of what you're eating. Look at the ingredients label. If it has things like BHT, BHA, MSG, these are all obesogens, these are endocrine disruptors. If it's something that is microwaved in plastic, just becoming aware of some of the major ways these get in. And Environmental Working Group, EWG.org, is a great resource because there's so much information and I'm overwhelmed by it. There's so much. So just take your time
Yeah.
and just look at a few things. And then the next step is, once you become aware of what's in your food, like, get rid of the junk. It's really about getting rid of the junk food. You can still have cookies, just don't have them packaged in all this plastic with BHT, BHA, high fructose corn syrup. Make your own, or get a really good brand that is really clean. And organic, just go organic. Look at the Dirty Dozen Clean 15 in terms of what to buy organic, what not to buy organic. That's another very simple step you can do. And then if you really want to do a medically sound metabolic detox and help your nutrients, then you can come to the Mediterranean Detox Program. And then we use specific products that have nutraceuticals in it. So the vitamins, the minerals that work as cofactors. So it basically helps the wheels turn so that things don't get stuck. Because if you don't do it that way, and let's say you're not having elimination through bowel movements, then it can actually make things worse.
Okay, so you spent a long time developing this Mediterranean detox program that you run at the Artemis Wellness Center for everyone here in Connecticut, and also other people who might be doing it online throughout the country or the world. But so as you've taken a deep dive, you're now writing a book about this, and you've created the Mediterranean detox. Tell us a little bit about some of the things that are going to be in it that you know are scientifically sound to help us detox.
Yes, happy to. This has been quite a process. So, because I've been steeped in the Mediterranean diet through research, actually being, my parents being from Crete, which is where the Mediterranean diet was born, from that cohort, one of the longest living cohort from that in Mediterranean diet study. So, I had to do this detox Mediterranean style, not only because I saw how helpful it was, but scientifically, as we see, the Mediterranean diet is the number one diet years in a row. And there's a reason for that. It's because it's simple, it's because it's delicious, and it's because there's so much science on it. And really, if you just even go onto a Mediterranean diet, which we're going to be having more resources for, especially online, you're cutting out the junk food. And that's where a lot of the toxins come in.
Yeah.
Now, what I've found though is that many patients need to take it a step further to lose weight, to help their fertility, to reverse the autoimmune disorders, because a lot of those disorders are because their metabolism is not working correctly. They have more inflammation. Their body needs help. And most of our bodies need help with this low level toxin exposure that synergizes, that it basically works like an additive effect when we're exposed over our lifetime.
So we
So
want to
I've
weed.
combined the best of the Mediterranean diet with a detox diet.
Yeah, so we want to weed and seed. You want us to take out the junk, the preservatives that could be making us fat, even if they say they've got 0 calories. What do we eat instead? What are some of the most detoxifying foods if we want to take an action step and get a few of these in our diet right away?
Yes, we go into it in detail in the program, but just I'll give you a few simple things. One is something we've talked about before, is the foods that help with methylation. And these are foods that help with the epigenetic risk of disease, that transgenerational effect of toxins on our hormones, on our metabolism. And that would be things like onions and garlic, which are actually, onions and garlic, that's part of the Clean 15. So those you don't even need to buy organic. I do recommend getting organic or go to local farmer or making your own. But onions and garlic is one thing you can do. The other class of vegetables that is very detoxifying. It helps our liver to process better. It helps our metabolism because of the way it works on our metabolic system, is cruciferous vegetables. So these are the Brussels sprouts, and you can make them delicious. If anyone's like, oh, Brussels sprouts, you can roast them, put some garlic in there, and extra virgin olive oil. So that's another thing, is we want to incorporate the extra virgin olive oil as our main oil. That's part of Mediterranean diet. It's an anti-inflammatory food and oil. that actually helps our metabolism and is anti-inflammatory. So having those flavonoids, those antioxidants in our diet is really helpful. So,
You take shots of
garlic and
it.
onion. What's that?
You take shots of olive oil, don't you?
I do, and we could do it together. I think, a lot of people are doing dry January. I'm thinking shots of olive oil is a really good idea. And that's another way to give your liver a little break too, is to do olive oil shots. You can do lemon juice with hot water. Absolutely.
Okay. So, and I know, I'm going to be doing the detox program. I like to do this a few times a year. Scott is going to be joining me. It's probably too complicated to get into all of it, but people can go to the artemiswellnesscenter.com. That's where you've got a link. You've got a book coming out. But basically, when you do a medical detox, how does that work? We order through you and talk about some of the products that arrive, because people wonder, well, why do I have to take this shake? And why do I have to take these vitamins?
Yes, great question. So when you're doing a detox, number one, you want to make sure whoever's recommending the detox has a medical degree or some type of degree that they know about nutrition. I see so many detoxes online with toxic products. They're actually contributing to toxins. So this is a really important point is if you're going to do a detox program, make sure it is medically sound, make sure there's a professional at the other end of that that's recommending it. Doing a Mediterranean diet or a sugar cleanse, that's a detox diet in of itself. That's kind of like phase one, cut out the junk food. And then we get into how do we support our body's natural ability to detoxify? And that would be with some of the products that we're using this time around. And, I've used many different types of products. This time around, we're doing a 12-day with the Ultra Clear Renew that has phase one, phase two nutrients in it. With the
So that's a shake.
AdvaClear, that's a capsule.
Let's just do
And
one
then
at a
we're
time. That's a shake, right? That's a shake. And how many times a day will we have that? And what does it do? How does it clean us out?
So it has in it, it's a gluten-free, dairy-free, toxin-free. It's a third-party tested. So I'm very, very picky about what supplements I recommend in my practice. They have to be top of the line, they have to be very safe, and they have to test it for toxins. Many products on the internet are actually contributing to toxins and have toxins in it. And so you got to be careful. So this particular product is by a very trusted company that's been around a long time. They do their own research. Institute of Functional Medicine is associated with it. And it has in it protein, so rice and pea-based protein,
Mm-hmm.
which helps for our body detoxify. It has nutrients in it that help with that methylation. So things like watercress, things like pomegranate, it has the amino acids, it has in it broccoli, which is also a wonderful cruciferous vegetable, organic to have with your olive oil and lemon juice and your greens. And it has glutamine, so things in it that actually have been proven through research to be cofactors necessary for our body to detoxify. If you're
Okay.
deficient in many of these nutrients, you're not going to be able to metabolically detoxify properly.
Okay. So
And
that's
that's the
step
concern, some
one.
of the
We're
things
going to
out there.
take a shake, and we do that
Yeah.
twice a day?
We're actually doing it once a day. I've
Once a day.
modified it because we're using food, primarily food, but we do need these nutraceuticals to make sure it is, we have what we need because our food is so deficient in many of these nutrients because our soil's been depleted. So the shake, one shake a day, can make it wonderful. Add non-dairy milks to it, add extra organic, vegetables to it, organic fruit. And then we're taking 2 capsules a day of the AdvaClear. So this has other nutrients in it. So it has vitamin A, C, D, E. The B vitamins are really important for our energy. And our liver really likes to have these nutrients in it so that it can do what it does best with taking toxins in. We take them in through our food, through our skin, through breathing them in. And it wants to transform those toxins into something that's water soluble. And so it needs certain nutrients to take it from phase one to phase two to be water soluble, and then phase three so we can excrete it. So
Okay.
the capsules have scientifically proven nutrients in it that help with phase one and phase two. So these combination of the shake and the nutrients. And then we have the extra one, which this product you know of as well.
Right. So that's the Akkermansia, which is a special probiotic that is known clinically, a lot of scientific research, to help us lose weight. Tell us about that probiotic and why it's important.
Yes, and I've really enjoyed your programs on this because this is Akkermansia is a probiotic. It's basically one of the organisms that lives in our gut, and it has been proven to help with lowering risk of insulin resistance, lowering, helping with metabolic processes, and it works similar to Ozempic and some of the drugs out there without the side effects and without the long-term issues.
Mm.
It also, the reason why I put this one in is because I know a lot of people are doing the detox because they want to lose weight and they might need some help with their microbiome, which is what the toxins are killing. So the reason these toxins are such a problem is they're actually killing our internal soil, our internal gut health. And so we want to replace those, especially if we've taken a lot of antibiotics, with something like this product. I do specific personalized testing so we can see if you really need it. But I really like that they came out with a very stable product. So Metagenics came out with this very stable Acromancy, and it helps with the digestive inflammation. So, if we are really going to help our metabolism, we also need our microbiome and our digestion on track.
Right. So basically, there's three things. We've got the shake, we've got the vitamins, and we've got the probiotic. And then in addition, that's going to help weed us and seed us with the probiotic. But so you've got those three things that we take. Then we're going to eat healthy Mediterranean style food. What are we not allowed to eat?
We are cutting out the junk. So all of those places where, unfortunately, that fast food, the packaged food. So we're cutting out the additives, the preservatives. We're going organic as much as possible. So, and then we are also cutting out some particular food and food groups that have been shown to increase inflammation in the body and are particularly high in toxins. They're just ubiquitous. We find them like they're in almost many of the packaged food, many of our food products. So this is like an elimination diet. Gluten. So gluten is found in wheat, barley, rye, spelt. We're cutting gluten out because what happens with gluten, many of our gluten containing products are very high in pesticides, in particular glyphosates, because they may or may not be genetically engineered. A lot of them are not, but basically in order to process them, they're being sprayed by pesticides. And then they get harvested and then they end up in our bread, in our cookies, in our pasta. And so we want to eliminate gluten, which is places where these food products that can create inflammation that pesticides can seep in. We're going to eliminate that. And we're going to get to have gluten-free grains like amaranth and quinoa. And also we can have some organic rice. So there are other grains we'll include Mediterranean style. We're also cutting out corn and corn products. Corn is very genetically modified and we can come across a lot of toxins in corn. So we're going to eliminate that. And I've seen that be a big problem for a lot of my patients, even skin health. We're also eliminating most dairy except for the fermented dairy, which is good for our gut. So we're going to keep in yogurt and fermented dairy.
But
We're
yogurt
also
is, when we're saying we're going to keep yogurt, a lot of detoxists will say no dairy, which would include yogurt. But we're allowed on your doctor-approved plan, we can have good quality Greek yogurt, but that doesn't mean it can have fruit on the bottom or sugars, right? Just plain.
Exactly. And this is where we all get to personalize this plan for ourselves. Like if you can't tolerate any dairy, then we can cut it out. But we need to find out why you can't tolerate it. So this program is designed to help your body come back to life, to renew itself, to metabolically function optimally. So yogurt, this is Mediterranean style detox. We're going to have some fun. We're going to have delicious food. And we're including some very important essentials in the Mediterranean diet, the Mediterranean blue zones, which have been shown to help extend life for up to 10 years if you follow it for especially a year. So yogurt and fermented dairy like yogurt and kefir, some of these fermented foods are a really important part of the Mediterranean diet. So we're keeping in, yes, the plain yogurt, the real plain yogurt that is low in toxins because you're going organic ideally.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite brand that you buy in your house?
You know what I love? I met the owner. I love Nuno's, but I haven't been able to find it. And so I see that, but I love going to the grocery store. I love looking at the labels, and full fat is fine
So
too,
full
which is very
fat.
interesting.
Okay.
There's a lot we'll have to do a whole segment on that because
I
that's
get the
something that,
Fage. Is that okay? Can I get Fage?
yeah, that's really good. And it means eat in Greek,
Oh,
faggot. So it's
Fage.
definitely,
Okay.
you can eat the faggot. Yeah,
Okay.
you can do that. Stonyfield has a good one. There's a lot of Siggy's. There's some really good ones, and that's something we'll get more into in the program.
What about alcohol?
Yes, we are cutting out alcohol because considering it's a detoxification, so we want to optimize our metabolic detoxification by cutting out things that compromise our liver, our gallbladder function, and especially if we have that non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which many people do, and guess what? One study found is causing it, the toxins. So you want to eliminate things that are harsh on your liver and get processed through your liver. And so the alcohol, we are cutting that out for this program. We're also cutting out peanuts. And that's because a lot of peanuts can have a mycotoxin. It's a fungal toxin called aflatoxin in it. That is the basis of the whole China study book. But
Okay.
we're just, we're going to focus on what we really see are some of the biggies.
Okay, so we've only got 2 minutes left, but I want to, and this is fully guided, and whether or not you can join us right now, you do this about 4 times a year. Let me just ask you, if you want to bring detoxing into your world, people get nervous because like, this is so hard and I have to be able to eat these things. I can't live my life like this. This is just a limited period of time. You're not saying we can never have dairy or gluten again, right?
Right. And this is why I made it Mediterranean style too, because we're taking the best of the Mediterranean diet. We're having our olive oil. We're going to have some delicious, fun food, and you want to enjoy your food. So I'd like to help people get back to enjoying real food. That's really what this program is about. We're going to eliminate some foods so that you can see how they make you feel. It's about understanding yourself, eliminating the gluten, most of the dairy, the corn, the junk food. So you can actually see how you feel with a more natural diet and give your body and your metabolism a boost, and your liver a break from all the toxins we're exposed to.
Yeah. As we continue to do this, let me ask you this. I think about this for my kids because I do feel good when I have done this, and I love that usually give us a little detox score. How would you know if you're toxic in our final minute? Give me 3 things that might tell you you're toxic right now.
Great question. I do have that a quiz
Yeah.
on that. And if someone wants to email me at info@Artemis Wellness Center, we can send them some more information. But basically, are you using fragrances?
Okay, you know what?
Any kind
Actually,
of
we only have
fragrance?
30 seconds left, but I know that you'll tell us if you're getting headaches, if you have indigestion, and if you have acne. All these things can be signs of toxins. So there's so much to get into, and you have a new book coming out, so stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, I want to drive everyone to either at Dr. Artemis or ArtemisWellnessCenter.com. Doctor, thanks for being with us. Happy detoxing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone, and be well.